Is up, crew? The Illini win against Nebraska in Lincoln, and I'm Austin Berkland from Illini Cast, part of the Armchair Illini Network, and this was a historic win. Nebraska has not lost on any of the sellouts that are 50 in between. And Illinois took down Dylan Raiola, the freshman phenom, with an absolute unbelievable performance by Luke Altmyer. I mean, ignore the hair. I was pulling my hair out at certain points, the face mask, everything. I just had to get on to this live stream and talk to you guys. What a win by the Illini. Let's just start with Luke Altmyer. I think Luke Altmyer had the most poised game I've ever seen from an Illini quarterback. I'm talking Nate Scheelhaus. I am talking Juice Williams. I am talking about the greats that Illinois football has had. This was the biggest game I've seen from an Illini quarterback. Let's go to Kirkland from Armchair Illini. He says, AB looking fresh, big dub. Absolutely, it was a big dub. And this is just one of those games where you will remember where you were when Illinois took down Nebraska, a ranked versus ranked matchup, number 24 versus number 22. Not many people gave Illinois a chance to win this game. You look at ESPN, all of them picked Nebraska. You look at The Athletic, Nebraska. You look at a lot of Illini publications as well. They picked Nebraska, and Illinois winds up victorious in this game. Jason Long, let's freaking go. ILL. Please comment what your favorite moment was of this game. Was it the Dylan Raiola looking like a freshman finally in overtime? Was it the initial touchdown pass to Pat Bryant? What was your favorite moment of this game? I think my favorite moment of this game was the Brandon Henderson touchdown on fourth down. What a ballsy play by Barry Lenny Jr., pulling that trick out of the bag at the exact right time. Everyone was expecting a run there because of what Illinois has done with Khalil Valentine, with Caden Fagan, with Jordan McCray, with Josh McCray. This was a great decision by Barry Lenny Jr. in that moment. I think I am speechless about what we just witnessed with this game. Illinois was unbelievable. Luke Altmyer. Let me pull up the stats of what Luke Altmyer did. Give me 1 second. This was just an unreal performance. Luke Altmyer, 21 of 27, 215 yards, 8 yards per pass, 4 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. And then, I mean, look at the rushing totals here. Not a lot to write home about in terms of rushing, but Caden Fagan, 69 yards, Josh McCray, 38, Aiden Lawfery, 30 yards, Khalil Valentine, 3 carries for 10 yards. Jason Long, he comments, I said prior to the game, the coaching staff needs to use the underdog mentality. No one picked us to win. I think the difference is Pat Bryant has become a pro player and is so huge. I absolutely agree with that. Pat Bryant came up large at all times. 5 receptions, 74 yards, 2 touchdowns. I know he missed that one catch, but he made up for it. He made up for it. 29 yards was his longest. Zachary Franklin, he had 50-yard reception, 50 receiving yard, 5 receptions, and a long of 17 yard. Pardon me. Kirkland, Luke is a game manager, won't make the plays that hurt. He looked like a pro tonight. I think he did. I think this was a game where if he keeps up this to a certain potential, to a certain level, Luke Altmyer can be an NFL player. And then you look at this Illinois defense. I know there was a couple possessions in there that Nebraska's running game kind of took off, but for the most part, Nebraska's rushing attack wasn't that successful. There was a lot of 2 yards in a cloud of dust going on. There was a lot of 3 yards in a cloud of dust going on. Illinois' defense, for the most part, held up. against the run. Dylan Raiola, though, I mean, he is as advertised, at least in that first half, and that's in the beginning of that second half. 23 of 35, 284 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And let's talk about that 1 interception that Dylan Raiola threw. I thought for sure that the replay booth was just going to keep it as a touchdown. It was Nebraska at home. It could have been tough to overturn, but I am so happy that the Big Ten Replay Center is available, and they made the right call. They absolutely made the right call with giving Torrey Cox that interception. I think that's one of the best interceptions I've ever seen from an Illini player. You can comment below whatever you think might be that, but what a play by Torrey Cox. Going back to that rushing attack, Dante Dowdle did have a decent game, 20 carries, 72 yards, but only 3.6 yards per attempt. That's not that bad in a Big Ten game where there was a potential of some high flying offense in that game, and Illinois, for the most part, held up when it needed to hold up. Aaron Henry, I give you kudos that there were some punts that they forced that changed the trajectory of this game, I feel like. And I keep looking at this Illini defense, and Xavier Scott, he is a pro. He is a guy that is going to be a very high draft pick. I don't know if he's going to be Devin Witherspoon high, but that's a second round pick if I've ever seen one. He locked down the receivers of Nebraska, and I just give a round of applause to Aaron Henry tonight. I thought he did a good job. I know Dylan Raiola had the stats that may say otherwise, but this was a bend but don't break effort by this Illini defense, and they forced Dylan Raiola into some bad situations. Like you look at the fumble that he had, the couple fumbles that he had that forced Nebraska back to the 7 yard line at times. You look at that overtime where that first possession, Aaron Henry dialed up the right blitzes. Aaron Henry dialed up the right coverages, and it made Dylan Raiola's job almost impossible. I was a little nervous whenever Illinois got the ball first, and then they did that spider two wide banana stuff like they did to Tanner Arkin, but it was Pat Bryant at fullback. Pat Bryant at fullback. Listen to that. Barry Lenny Jr. dialing up and mixing up things that made Nebraska's defensive coordinator want to pull his hair out at times. So great job by Barry Lenny Jr. as well with the offense that he called. And then special teams. There's a reason why Brett Bielema and the entire staff put so much detail and effort into special teams. You think of the missed field goal by Nebraska. You think of there was no special teams errors by the Illini. Hank Beatty had some good returns in there. Hugh Robertson, that final punt, I thought it was going to be like, oh, what a terrible punt. But no, I mean, he got it down to the 7 yard line, made Nebraska take a knee and send it into overtime. And I just feel like this was a very mistake-free game in terms of what you normally look for in a game. I mean, you look at the penalty yardage. Nebraska, 9 penalties for 89 yards tonight. 9 penalties for 89 yards. And this is a Matt Rule team. Matt Rule, he loves to stress the minor details of football. He loves to avoid turnovers. He loves to avoid penalties. And Illinois was the more disciplined team. They were the more mature team at times. They were the team that seemed more prepared for the moment than Nebraska. I mean, Illinois, 3 penalties for 20 yards. And I am so impressed by that with the growth from one year to the next. Because you look at what this team was last year. Look at that Kansas game last year. There were so many penalties. There were so many unforced errors by the Illini. and Illinois avoided those. Luke Altmyer didn't throw the ball into the other team's hands at all this game. He did have that fumble, but that was a blindside situation that I don't think he really saw coming. He was looking to pass the ball there. So Illinois played such a disciplined game to go on the road in a raucous environment, the 400th straight sellout for Nebraska Cornhuskers, and Illinois comes out victorious. This is a Nebraska team that was a dark horse contender for the college football playoff. This was a team that, after last week, by The Athletic and by ESPN, were actually slotted into the field at the 11th seed. Illinois beat the 11th seed in the college football playoff, at least to some experts out there. I just can't get over what this entire team did tonight. There was no one player that just stood out above the rest. This was a team, um, total team effort. Look at this comment from Robert Walter. Rough, smart, dependable, unbelievable win. Illinois is legit, and Bielema is the man. I agree. I think this team was so undervalued, and I think that Brett really turned that into motivation this year. How many predictions did you see before the season that Illinois would be a 3-win team? That Illinois would be a 4-win team? That Illinois would be a laughing stock of the Big Ten? How many different verticals did you read that had Illinois' quarterback, Luke Altmyer, ranked number 14 out of the 18 quarterbacks in the Big Ten? I think Barry Lunny and I think Aaron Henry and I think Brett Bielema and I think Luke Altmyer all looked at that stuff and really used that as motivation. I really think that Aaron Henry's development as a defensive coordinator has been superb so far. I mean, you look at what Illinois was last year with the defensive backs and the development was just terrible. But this year, it's been unbelievable. I'm going to invite Kirkland on. Give me 1 second to invite Kirkland from Armchair Illini on. I am sending him the link as we go. Thank you to Defeld2 for subscribing to us on YouTube. We appreciate that. So, comment below on what you want to talk about. Do you want to talk about this great defensive effort in that overtime by the Illini? Do you want to talk about the offense and Luke Altmyer? Do you want to talk about the coaching? Do you want to talk about the impact that this game will have overall? I always thought that this game was going to, this kind of season could determine where Illinois football goes year in and year out. Because this is a new Big Ten. This is a Big Ten with more talent in it. This is a Big Ten that you got to have to stick out from the rest. And this is a game that solidified Illinois as being that top team in that tier 2 of the Big Ten. You're going to have Ohio State. You're going to have Oregon. And I think Illinois can beat Michigan. They have major quarterback issues with Michigan. Alex Orji is not really that great of a passer. I think this is a team that can beat Michigan. You look at Penn State. Drew Aller and crew have struggled mightily against some questionable opponents, including opponents from the MAC, including like that West Virginia game. I think Illinois would beat West Virginia. And I think Illinois has a legit shot of beating Penn State. So you add those two games on there. Wow. And let's bring Kirkland on. Kirkland, what a win by the Illini. What stood out to you in this game?
Yeah, I mean, Luke Altmyer really stood out to me the most. I mean, sorry guys for the camera. I'm on the iPhone right now. Yeah, Luke Altmyer stood out to me. I mean, under pressure, 85,000 deep there in Lincoln, Nebraska. You know, you had a bad turnover at one point in time. Wasn't really his fault. It was just a great play dialed up there by Nebraska's defensive coordinator. But I mean, you really got put in a couple of tough spots there to not really be able to get back out of it. And honestly, they just did a great job of holding their own. And Luke Altmyer just being tough in the face of pressure and winning. I mean, it was to me, I thought that was going to be a big deal. Was junior quarterback versus a freshman, and I think that was really impressive to see Luke get the job done.
And I have never seen a freshman quarterback with the talent that Dylan Raiola has. Like there probably is somebody that can correct me if I'm wrong on that. We'll bring Kirkland back here in
No,
a second. We're going to go audio only with Kirkland for a little bit, but yes, the freshman quarterback Dylan Raiola. I thought that he was phenomenal tonight, but I've never seen a freshman quarterback run the table against every single opponent that he faces. And I thought Illinois had a legitimate shot to be one of those teams that trips that this freshman campaign up with Luke Altmyer's veteran presence. And I was really impressed with what I saw from Dylan Raiola, but I knew there was going to be freshman moments, and it's all about how Illinois would take over for those freshman moments. And lucky for us, Nebraska had the last possession, and those freshman moments came out in a drove of plays, 4 in a row to be exact.
yeah, they did exactly what they needed to do. I mean, they put pressure on the young guy, made him uncomfortable, which was something that I said from the beginning they were going to have to do if they were going to want to win this game. They needed to make Raiola feel like a freshman for the first time because I think so far he's gotten a lot of these comparisons to Pat Mahomes, and they're talking about him. He doesn't play like a freshman; he's playing like a senior, and some of these things that sound great on the outside, but for him, he's like, man, stop saying that stuff because that's a lot of pressure. So, and when you get put in these types of situations, this is why. So, it's just great to see Coleman really double down on him, and Gabe Yakus and some of these guys really just get after him.
Jason Long commented, said, dude, this is so fun when we have two major sports doing well. Basketball and football, love it. Recruiting will be big time. This is what Josh Whitman, like, I hate to make this sound so like um, heroic and all of that kind of thing and overblow it, but this is truly what Josh Whitman was talking about when he took over as Illinois athletic director. This is a moment where you have an Elite Eight program in college basketball. You have a 4-0 football program with 2 ranked wins on their belt, at least at the time of the matchup. This is just a phenomenal time to be an Illini fan. Illini volleyball doing well. Illini women's basketball is doing better, doing the best since the early days of Teresa Grimes. I think this is just a stand-up job by Josh Whitman to put the pieces into place for this athletic program. And in a world where you don't know what's going to happen 3 years down the road, Illinois is set up for major success. And Josh Whitman, I give kudos to you with the Brett Bielema hire. I give you kudos with the Brad Underwood hire. This has just been a euphoric time in the Illini athletic department.
Yeah, Josh didn't lie to us when he said we will win. That was something that I thought was at the time was pretty awesome for him to come out and just be pretty straightforward because that was what Illini fans needed. They didn't need to hear all of the fluff. They just needed to hear that we were going to get better. And Josh has just done that. I mean, other than maybe the Lovie Smith hire, this is something where he's done a really good job with getting Illinois back on track and getting the athletic department rolling again, ticket sales rolling again. Yeah, he's done a fantastic job. Like I said, I can think back to that first spring game of him standing out front and shaking everyone's hands, and it's pretty cool to see how far they've come underneath of him.
I was a major hater on the underline Illini helmets. I think the underline Illini helmets have to stay now. This is a this is something right now. I know Jeremy Warner of 24/7 Sports tweeted out the Illini must be a little stitious, and 2 ranked wins, underline helmet. I think that's our new full time helmet. I think if Illinois keeps pulling these victories out.
Yeah, 100%. Those helmets bring me a lot of nostalgia. I mean, when I see that, I get the flashbacks of Juice Williams and Nathan Shieldhouse, and to me, those are the helmets I grew up with. So, seeing them actually pull off the wins and seeing them at 4-0 and going into a big game against Penn State, yeah, I think they are a little bit stitious. I think they should stick with it.
I mentioned in my opening about Xavier Scott. What are your thoughts on his performance tonight, and where do you think he ranks in terms of these great defensive backs that Illinois has had in recent years?
Yeah, he's a dude. I mean, he's playing like a pro right now. If you watch him, he closes on the ball really quick. He reads quarterbacks really well. I mean, Xavier's just playing really, really good. I mean, I like you said earlier, I don't think he's quite to that Devin Witherspoon level, but I do think he's, to that Quan Martin area of just being a really legit, solid DB that when you need to can definitely step up and make the plays. I mean, the turnovers have been so key for Illinois. Yeah. I mean, he's just been a dude. I think there's going to be a lot of pro teams that are going to key in on him this offseason.
I was thoroughly impressed that Illinois was able to win a game where it was a heavyweight fight of just trading punch for punch. Like, sure, you would like to see a game where there's an interception return for a touchdown that kind of changes the tide of this game, but this was the first Illini game in a very long time where there wasn't that firm break for Illinois. There was like, yes, the missed field goal happened, but Illinois stood toe to toe with another ranked opponent and didn't get many breaks and constantly constantly did great things on offense after a Dylan Raiola touchdown, and on defense they kind of stood their ground at the right time. I am thoroughly just mind blown over Illinois having a game like that in that environment. It just shows what kind of program and what kind of mentality that Brett Bielema is building in the Smith Center.
Yeah, Bielema was bringing the program a long way. I mean, typically we're used to seeing Illinois on the other side of this, to where the sloppy penalties and youthfulness and some of these things where we're like, one of these days Illinois is going to get this right, and one of these days Illinois is going to win in the trenches, and one of these days they're going to have depth. And it's like I think Bielema's finally actually captured on a lot of those boxes, and I think now it's just time for Illinois to continue to keep building with recruiting and winning big games like this. Because I mean, this is a Friday night where this is a huge matchup. Friday night, a lot of people in the nation, especially if you're a college football person, were watching this game. I mean, it was big for Illinois to pull this one off. Bielema was really pulling this program around.
I can't wait to see the text messages that these high school recruits get after their own Friday night football game, being like, "Hey, here's a YouTube link of the highlights of this Illinois Nebraska game. You might want to check them out." For those recruits that Brett Bielema is battling Matt Rule for, I mean, this is the type of game that can change a tune of a recruitment for sure. But I mean, you look at the development that Aaron Henry has gone under. Like, that's my biggest storyline of the game. I know Luke Altmyer had a just unbelievable performance, but this is a quarterback that if they were playing Illinois last year, he would have thrown for 5 touchdowns. It would have been a 55-13 style game.
Yeah, no, totally agree with you. Like I said, it's just been solid all the way around. It's really nice to see where they're getting this program too.
Any thoughts from the commenters? Leave a comment below on what you want to talk about. Jason goes back to talking about Josh Whitman. I agree with you. Whitman has a vision, and he has been the biggest piece. I remember when he hired Underwood, he said he wanted to put Illinois back on the map. He's done that. He's done that. Illinois is firmly in a space where they matter in the Big Ten. They are firmly in a space where they are relevant nationwide. And it's not so much that fans from other teams can be like, oh, yeah, it's the Illinois game. We'll win that game. See you later. This is a program that coaches are going to be looking out for. And this is a program that high school recruits are going to want to be a part of. This is a huge transfer portal win as well, because players in the transfer portal can see what Priestley, brought, can see what J.C. Davis brought, can see what Zachary Franklin brought in this game, and this is such a tide turner. Only being 2 games away from bowl eligibility now, and we are 4 weeks into the season. Like, this
Yeah.
is just crazy. This is crazy. We have never in our lifetimes really been a part of a situation like this. Yes, Ron Zook's second year went 6-0 to start the season, but this has a different vibe to it. This has talent behind it. This has coaching behind it. Ron Zook's kind of felt a little fake, and this is a situation where, my goodness, this is a program changing win right here.
Yeah, I mean, and they're just really carrying momentum for the fans as well, which is huge because I think I heard Mike Carpenter talk about on the 200 level. I think it was yesterday. He said after Illinois beat Wisconsin in 2022, they get Iowa at home. And you would think that would be a game where, Iowa has a terrible offense that's looking like a good win for Illinois against a school that Illinois is fans especially don't favor. You get 42,000 people to show up for that. A rowdy 42,000, but only 42,000 people. You get Central Michigan at home and you got 50 plus thousand people there to watch you beat up on Central Michigan. I'm excited to see what Purdue and Michigan look like. I think Purdue's going to sell out. I think Michigan's going to sell out. I think some of the lofty predictions that we made last week aren't looking so lofty anymore. I mean, it's really awesome to see the fans start to buy in. People that I know that were your pop-up Alabama and Ohio State fans, just because Illinois has been so bad for so long, are starting to shift gears and go, oh, Illinois has been fun to watch this last couple of years, even when they haven't been the best like last year. So it's just fun to see what Illinois is doing and see where they continue to grow this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean Garner says, now Luke needs to redeem himself against Penn State next week. Absolutely. That's the next step of his evolution as a quarterback, is to keep beating better and better teams, really see what the limit is for Luke Altmyer. And this year, he has a little thing called swagger. He has a little thing called confidence, Kirkland. I
Yeah.
mean, this is a guy last year that had guys in his face every single play. Like, I keep mentioning that Kansas game last year, but just crazy to see where Illinois went from there to this year. And he's going to have the confidence to be like, you know what? I have J.C. Davis, I have Priestley, I have Kreutz blocking for me. They handled this supposed black shirt defense to where I didn't throw an interception. I threw 4 touchdown passes against this so-called vaunted defense here. And if West Virginia can get some good things going in the first half of the game against Penn State, you know what? I can. So I think Luke is really going to really feel himself, and I think he's excited about this opportunity.
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity. I mean, you got Penn State on the road now. So now that you've beat Nebraska, you're 4-0. You're looking to go 5-0, and you really don't have anything to lose going into this game. I mean, you just really don't. So if you go in there, and as long as you don't get absolutely shredded, Illinois will have come away with a win. Even if they play a close game and come away with a loss, I mean, you're 5-1 going into a pretty favorable second half of your stretch in the back of the year. So, I mean, I'm excited with what Illinois has to possibly maximize their potential on this season because, I mean, Luke's confident. This team's confident. Can they go into Penn State and pull a huge win and, possibly be 6-0 going into or 5-0 going into a really, pretty favorable back half of your season here. So it's exciting to see Illinois possibly be able to maximize on their potential. But Penn State's going to be a tough one. They've got some really good ball players.
I think a lot of Big Ten people and a lot of nationwide people, I talk mostly about like the media of that ilk, where Brett Bielema is ranked below a lot of college football coaches that haven't had the success of Brett Bielema. And I think Brett is kind of reminding people who he is and what he's built at his various stops. I mean, Arkansas had some really good years in there. Wisconsin, obviously, going to Rose Bowls, doing what Wisconsin does, and creating that beast even more so than what Barry Alvarez built. I think he's like, you know what? I know how to build a Big Ten program, and he is showing the Big Ten and the country who he is.
Yeah, I totally agree. I kind of pull this analysis to where I think it's just a little more personal on a personal level for a lot of people. For those of us that, went and watched high school football, maybe played high school football or attend your local high school football game, there's always that one or two teams in your conference that just to see people call them robots. They say they just do everything right. They don't get penalized. They just do everything correctly. They're very well coached. They're very disciplined, and it seems like Bielema, that's just his big thing is just doing the small things right. Like tonight, not losing in the turnover margins heavily, not getting penalized, and getting really crappy penalties late, and showing some of your youthfulness. I mean, some of that stuff that Illinois struggled with for years that they're just not doing anymore. I mean, how many games did we watch even under Lovie Smith and some of these other coaches where Tim Beckman, some of these guys, like how many games were so close that stupid penalties or bad dropped passes or missed tackles or whatever it may be cost them. And I just think that it's at least refreshing that again, are you gonna win a national championship? No, probably not. But is it something where Illinois is gonna possibly stay consistent and get into that Iowa, Wisconsin realm where they can be? Yeah, absolutely. Because I think Bielema just knows how to build a team to be that consistent.
I mean, this was traditional Brett and aggressive Brett all at the same time tonight because you're thinking, what does a Brett Bielema team do well? They get third down conversions, and they were 7 for 13 tonight from third down, and that was pretty dang good with the situations that they were in. But then Barry Lunny got a little aggressive, and Brett was okay with it, going 2 for 3 from fourth down. Yes, that first one was a wee bit questionable. It was one of those like probably 50-50. I wonder what the analytics kind of said. But 2 for 3 from fourth down, 7 for 13 from the third down mark. This is a this was a great Brett Bielema performance on keeping drives going, and that's something that Illinois definitely struggled with last year. And I think it wiped some Nebraska chances just because Illinois had the ball for so long, and it was an unexpected way of holding on to the ball.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, they just did a great job all the way around. Barry Lunny stayed really creative. I think this was one of his better showings, if not his best showing as offensive coordinator at Illinois. I thought he was just smooth and found ways to keep Illinois creative. They never got stalemated. I mean, it seems like again, how many times have we seen Illinois get to the point where they can't run the ball, and it just seems like from there you're one dimensional. They key in, no one else gets anything done. It's like Barry is so good at the creativity. Like you said, the third and I mean that deep play to Pat Bryant had me, swallowing my tongue a little bit because I'm like, man, that's a gutsy call to make that call, but and it turned out big for Illinois. I mean, just some of the creativity, some of the things that we saw him do at UTSA. I think we saw a lot of that tonight. We saw him pull some of this stuff out of the back pocket that we haven't seen him do yet. So yeah, really nice to see where they're developing as an offense under him and where they'll go as a future.
It was really nice. Speaking of Barry Lunny, Caden Fagan was in, and he faked the inside zone and took it outside, and that really set the tone in that overtime. That was an unbelievable play call to trust Caden, who has not had the best season to this point, which is crazy to think of. We're 4-0, and Caden hasn't been unleashed upon the Big Ten to his fullest potential, which is awesome. But to trust Caden to get the yards there, to use that creativity, and to possibly spark something in the future for Caden, that was an unbelievable job by Barry Lunny to make that play call right there.
Yeah, and I mean, how gutsy too, just because Nebraska's run defense is so stellar. I mean, 16th, I don't know what it'll be after tonight, but 16th in the nation. I mean, teams were averaging 2 yards a carry against them. Illinois in the first half struggled. second half they really started to get a pretty solid run game going, and obviously there in overtime it pretty well won them the game. So again, yeah, it was really nice to see Caden Fagan get going a little bit, the offensive line get comfortable and get a little bit of a spark going. Yeah, it was just really nice to see them start to roll. They've got the dudes. It's not that they didn't have the talent. I just think for whatever reason, it just wasn't clicking on the inside. But tonight, it was a little bit better. I think Kreutz had a better game despite a funky penalty there at the end. But yeah, overall, I think Illinois' run game looked more improved. And, honestly, I think it helped to get the dub tonight.
Sean Garner. I think I know what word he's missing here. Could Illinois get in the college football playoff conversation this year? I think I think after tonight, we will see Illinois be in the hunt, as you see like in Major League Baseball right now. I think you'll see them on the bubble kind of thing. But if Illinois beats Penn State, then I think they would be projected in the field because you'd have three ranked wins, and I don't even think Alabama would have that at that point, which is wild to think of. And especially with four teams possibly getting into the Big Ten, but we haven't seen Illinois put together that consistency to make me believe that they are truly a contender for it. But I think it's going to be cool to see Illinois in the field if Illinois beats Penn State next week.
Yeah, I think it's going to be similar. I don't know that the end result will be as similar to 2022, but I think that it's going to start happening where they're going to start projecting themselves close to that playoff, and it's going to start being the talk. I'm not saying it's not possible. If they go on the road and beat Penn State next week, we're going to start having some crazy conversations. But right now, I think you couldn't really project Illinois in that top 12 despite an awesome win tonight. I know we're all I know we're all excited, but I wouldn't
Yes.
call Illinois a college football playoff team quite yet.
No, I mean, and especially in this Big Ten, all it takes is a Minnesota to knock Illinois off of its perch. We've seen it happen year in and year out with fellow Big Ten West teams, and I think something similar can happen, like what happened in Nebraska to Illinois. I mean, Illinois is not a team that's head and shoulders above everyone. They don't have the talent for that, but they do have good weapons. But all it takes is just a bad game, and then Illinois loses a little bit of that luster. But this team should be a top 25 team for the rest of the year. I think that's the baseline expectation now. If you lose a tight one to Penn State, you can beat Michigan, and then just don't get embarrassed the rest of the way, and you should be a top 25 team this whole year, which is wild to think about.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think as long as you can pull off one more, tougher win, I think Illinois has really got a good shot at being that 8-9 win realm, which is coming from where we were at the beginning of the year with people projecting 2 to 4 wins, that's a big step forward. So I think a lot of local media knew what Illinois was going to be and that Illinois was going to be competing for a bowl game this year, or at least really fighting for that, 6, maybe 7 win mark. But I think that Illinois, again, they've won the game so far where they can maximize.
Sean Garner, I wonder if College Game Day will talk about our big win tomorrow. I absolutely think they will. I mean, I think this is a team that Kirk Herbstreit obviously believed in enough to pick Illinois to beat against Kansas, and I think he'll talk about Illinois beating Nebraska because this is truly the biggest storyline in college football up to this point. Two ranked teams battling it out, and Illinois coming up victorious over the prodigal son, Dylan Raiola. I mean, that's a story right there. That is something to analyze for sure on College Game Day.
Yeah, totally agree. I think it's going to be something that's going to be touched on for a decent amount just because it was, kind of a highlight game tonight. Typically, Friday night games aren't the most exciting. You don't really have the greatest matchups always, but tonight was a pretty rare ranked on ranked Friday night matchup, and I think that Kirk Herbstreit, like you said, and those guys will probably have a good time talking about Illinois catching the dub tomorrow.
Illinois is in first place in the Big Ten. That is correct, Sean. But We got to wrap this up. We're 40 minutes. It's 11:27. We got some partying to do. Illinois wins over Nebraska 31-24 in overtime. This has been the Illini Cast, part of the Armchair Illini Network. Kirkland, where can people follow you?
Yeah, they can follow me on Twitter at Kirkland Chapel. You guys can also follow Armchair Illini. They'll be posting my content there. So either way, you can't go wrong.
And then you can follow us on Twitter at IlliniCast. You can follow me individually at AB1132 on Twitter. And then, yeah, Armchair Illini is going to be crushing it with content this week. Lots to talk about, lots to project in the future now. It can be really fun now to read some articles about Illinois athletics as a whole. Just getting Illinois commits. There's going to be a coaching search for basketball next year in terms of the assistant coaching ranks. And Illinois football is 4-0 and ranked 24th in the country. Going to be higher come Sunday. Just unreal. And bask in the glow, Illini fans. The 20s belong to the Illini just like they did in 1920. 2020s, this is Illinois' decade right now. Savor it, enjoy it, and just embrace it with your fellow Illini fans. This is what dreams are made of. This is what we've been craving for years and years and years, to have domination on the football field, domination on the basketball court. We are finally here. Don't overlook this. Don't stop enjoying it. Just always remember where you were on games like this. This is fun to tell your kids. This is one of those you'll tell your kid moments. So, Kirkland, thank you. ILL.
I. Thanks, Austin. Appreciate you, buddy.